Kedishanu b'mitzvotav.
Turn the camera.
La'asok.
I will turn
Okay,
it.
here we are, back in the saddle again. Cindy, a little bird told me that April 11th, there's something like a women's Seder.
Something like that.
What can you tell us about it?
It is the first joint event with WOW and Sisterhood. But it's really, we're doing it WOW's way. It's going to be before Passover, because that's what WOW does. It's going to be traditional, led by the clergy. It'll be at the Irmis campus. And it'll be a full, lovely meal with all the Seder accoutrements. So it's kind of a prelude to Passover. So
instead of it being like second Seder, third Seder, fifth Seder, it's 0.5 Seder. It's like
pre-Seder.
Pre-Seder. Okay.
So we can cheat on some of the food and things because it's not really Passover.
Yeah, that makes it easier. Cindy, is there anything else coming up on Sisterhood?
Yeah, we are having our high tea April 30th. What I have learned when we did it ourselves with volunteers, we could get the flyer out in an hour. Now that staff does it, it takes at least a week. So I've done the flyer and I'm just waiting for them to get it out. It'll be April 30th at the Ye Old King's Head. We are doing it on Shabbat, but it's a learning tea, so that's okay, right?
A learning.
We're going to be studying with Rabbi Nana, so it's okay to have an event on Shabbat, right?
Right.
We found the loophole.
Right.
Okay.
So
that will be coming out soon, and we're going to be having a Mahjong tournament in Klein Hall, which is going to be one of the last events in the current situation, on May 18th. That's a Wednesday.
Bless you. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And the comment about Klein Hall is that I think everyone's aware that somewhere around the 1st of June, or who knows when, they're going to be shutting down the usage of the University Synagogue building and beginning a
complete renovation.
I was going to say a gut renovation. I didn't know whether that was a polite thing to say.
I think the stained glass windows will stay.
Yeah.
I can't say anything about anything else.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay, thank you for that. April 13th, we're back in the current events course. April 13th, Wednesday noon. And I'm going to try to find some current events that are of interest so we can have something to talk about. We'll see. We'll see if we can do that. Everyone welcome, and it's wonderful. April 5th. No, why did I write 5th? I know it's 15th. So I mistyped. April 15th is first Seder. Jim, do you have any movies coming up?
Not specifically, but our dates for April are the 9th, that's next Saturday, and the 23rd. And I'll send emails out myself very soon.
I would like to commend you for having put that very exciting surprise event in the middle of the Oscars so that you could build up interest in movies and all that. That is very thoughtful.
What event was that?
I forget.
So do I.
Rabbi?
Yeah. Okay, Sue Klasa, yes.
Question for Cindy. I got my Mahjong card. When do I learn how to play?
Unfortunately, the person that was going to give the classes has had some health problems. So that isn't going to work out.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, but then again, you can always go to PF Chang's. So,
I think you can probably Google it.
Yeah.
It's a rummy game.
Today is Shabbat HaChodesh. Shabbat HaChodesh means that this is the first day of the month of Nisan. And the 15th of Nisan 14th at night, is Pesach. So this is, when you get to Shabbat HaChodesh, you know that you've got less than 2 weeks to go. Last night would have been 2 weeks to get ready for Seder. And I did mention in the posting that the Torah actually regards Nisan 1 as the first of the year. So not Rosh Hashanah, but Nisan 1. So Rosh Hashanah becomes a first later in the development of Judaism, but not so in the Torah. I also mentioned frequently that this year, always it's true, but maybe this year especially, invite strangers to your Seder. This is a good time. There may not be Ukrainian refugees yet in the Los Angeles area, but it certainly is a good time to remember that that's what we ought to be doing. Okay, so good to see everybody. Hi. Any personal news, anything going on, anything you want to share? Okay, Howard.
My grandson, oldest grandson, is going to fly to Cleveland with his father this weekend and decide.
I'm not hearing you clearly, Howard.
Can you hear me at all?
Yes.
Now.
Okay, my oldest grandson is going to fly to Cleveland with his father this weekend to decide what college to go to. So he's either going to go to Kenyon College or the other one.
Or the other one. Now,
I think it's Oberlin, Howard.
Oberlin.
Is this Michael that we met?
Michael, yes,
Oh,
Michael.
wow.
okay.
Why
Yeah, the other one. I mean, there's like Ohio State and there are a bunch of
right, there are a few others, yeah, but 500, I think.
Okay, that's great. That's great. I have a grandson who's up in Seattle this weekend, looking at schools. Anyone else have anything? Sukasa.
Well, I might as well say I have twins. I have one granddaughter graduating college and two graduating high school. One is going to James Madison and the other one I think is going to go to Boulder.
Wow.
That's great.
Is the one going to Boulder interested in mysticism mysticism and spirituality and skiing?
I think he's sort of out there a lot of the time. I don't know if he's interested in it. No, he's interested in environmental science and hiking in the outdoors and communing with nature.
That's Boulder.
I think at this point, that's the only thing he communes with. He doesn't commune with us.
Okay.
We're not going into that today, but all right. Okay. Merle.
I am happy to announce that on May 20th, I am showing up in person for services wherever they might be.
My God. Okay. Risa and I mentioned we flew to Tucson back and forth.
Right.
And I was absolutely in a state of shock to see the mass of people at LAX. Mass. Huge.
Well, we're driving.
Okay, but just the things are changing.
Oh,
So-
yeah.
Okay, very good. Any other looking for hands, any other interesting things happen in the world? Brad, are you still planning to abandon us? I mean, to go back to Colorado?
You're muted.
Back to Boulder, yes. With Sukasa's grandchild.
You're moving there? How come, Brad?
We spend 6 months, we like to spend 6 months a year there to be with our Colorado children and grandkids.
Nice. Okay.
Okay, that is great.
Maybe she's a tree hugger.
And Boulder is just an awesome place. It's a great choice and a great school.
Okay.
When do you leave?
And so.
We don't have a date yet. Things are a bit up in the air.
We should have a chance to have a farewell or see you soon kind of a thing in 6 months. Any other comments? If not, we're going to move forward. I hope everyone is well. It's been good. We're going to go to Effie.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we're going to Leviticus 12, verse 1 through 8. Okay, and I just wanted to point out that's called Going to the Text, page 735 in the Plout, 639 in the WRJ. Leviticus 12, 1 through 8, 735 in the Plout. I am now opening it. Okay, I need, this is verses 1 through 8, so I need a 1 through 5 and a 5 through 8 reader. Do we have a volunteer? Do we have Steve Miller? Thank you very much. You can start off with 12:1.
The Eternal One spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the Israelite people thus. When a woman at childbirth bears a male, she shall be impure 7 days. She shall be impure as at the time of her condition of menstrual separation. On the 8th day, the flesh of his foreskin shall be circumcised. She shall remain in a state of blood purification for 33 days. She shall not touch any consecrated thing nor enter the sanctuary until her period of purification is completed. If she bears a female, she shall be impure 2 weeks as during her menstruation, and she shall remain in a state of blood purification for 66 days. But
Okay,
I volunteered to read. Why are they called Israelites at this point? Why aren't they still Hebrews?
they're not referred to as Hebrews here.
Right.
They're B'nai Yisrael. They are still very much the tribal descendants of Jacob.
Okay.
They are not called Ivrim. They're not called Hebrews. Okay, but please do notice you bear a male, impure 7 days, and then 33 days of purification. You bear a female, 2 weeks, and 66 days. Now, I need verses 6 through 8. Do I have a reader? Do I? Okay, Lynn, thank you. Lynn, what happened to your backdrop?
Oh, I lost it. I'll put it back.
Okay,
I'm not in Hawaii.
okay.
On the completion of her period of purification for either son or daughter, she shall bring to the priest at the entrance of the tents of meeting a lamb in its first year for a burnt offering, and a pigeon or a turtle dove for a purgation offering. He shall offer it before the Eternal and make expiation on her behalf. She shall then be pure from her flow of blood. Such are the rituals concerning her who bears a child, male or female. If, however, her means do not suffice for a sheep, she shall take two turtle doves or 2 pigeons, one for a burnt offering and the other for a purgation offering. The priest shall make expiation on her behalf, and she shall be pure.
Okay, there we go. All that is there. Okay. Oh, I just see Kevin joined us. Hi, Kevin. My first point is, what pops out at you from this section? Look at it. What pops out at you? There are a whole bunch of interesting things here, but what pops out? Effie.
First of all, there's separate dates for purification between having a male child and a female child.
Yes, perfect. Thank you. We're going to get into the whys and the wherefores. Kevin.
Okay, so the Cohen's supposed to get a shekel or some money. Here, there's a lamb or pigeons that are given as sacrifice. But is that something the Cohen's get?
Well, first of all, let us speak of them as Kohanim, because there could be Kohens here who might want around getting some money. The Kohanim, yeah, normally within the biblical structure, there is no cash. There's a shekel that's used. That was a very capitalist downward thumb. There was a shekel that was used as a part of the census. You give us half a shekel, whatever, but no payment for the clergy, if you will. The food that is brought, some of the sacrifices go to the Kohanim, the Leviim, but not cash payments ever. Okay. Okay, who else sees something interesting? Penina.
Okay, I'm going back to the name, Bnei Israel. The word Hebrew, according to Albright, who was an archaeologist and a historian, not Jewish, he thinks that the word Hebrew comes from the word, some kind of word that means donkey leaders or caravan leaders. So the fact that now they're not being called Hebrews and they're called Bnei Israel, it shows a change in the nature of their being, of their behavior or existence or motivation. No longer caravan or nomads. It's now Bnei Israel. They have a different identity.
Okay, thank you. What else can we find that sticks out, if you will, in this portion? Marv and or Harv or Mara or one of both of whatever.
Yes, what I see in this portion is all kinds of definitions of separation, male and female, those who can give one kind of offering or cannot. Those are the two basic ones, and separation from the community itself.
Yeah, and separation during the menstruation period and those kinds of things. It's filled with separations. Yes. Any other comments? Okay, I see Natalie.
Once again, we see in the Torah that there is something very fearful about blood, that blood is something that we must stay away from, be careful of. Even in this passage, there's nothing beautiful about it, even though a new child has been born.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yes, good. Howard.
So I think this passage is very misogynistic. Women are scary. They're impure. And they have blood, which is especially impure.
Thank you. I see Brad, then Ray Kasarn. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, Merle, I'm going to get you. Promise. Okay, Brad.
Well, the Brit being on the 8th day. I mean, is this mentioned elsewhere in the
yes.
Torah?
Oh yes. Oh yes. And as a matter of fact, Brad, what Bible scholars, which you now are one of them, Bible scholars will point out that the phrase here doesn't even fit into the text. There's no context for that comment. If you see, even if you look at the way the English is set, she'll be impure at the time of her condition of menstrual separation. The translator puts in a dash. On the 8th day, the flesh of his foreskin shall be circumcised, dash. She shall remain in a state of blood. He's trying to indicate that this is weird, that this phrase, it's accurate, it's correct, it's Jewish law, but it doesn't fit what's being discussed. So it's kind of, I mean, there's absolutely nothing in the Hebrew that would make it stand out that way, but the translator was like troubled that this was like dropped in out of nowhere. Good, thank you. Okay, I'm going to go to Merle and then Ray.
So I'm thinking here with the time differences and when does a Pidya Ben take place?
Okay, the Pidyon Haben. Pidyon means redemption. Haben, the son, redemption of the son, or as most American Jews say, the Pigeon Haben ceremony. We kind of put the little kid on a bird and he goes flying off. It is not pigeon, it's Pidyon. You said it correctly. That ceremony is not here. It evolves once the priesthood is fully established.
Okay, and it's only the firstborn son.
Only the firstborn son who is born not of what we today would call cesarean.
Oh.
If the first child born to the woman is a male, but he is born through cesarean section, there is no Pidyon Haben.
I didn't realize that.
Also,
the rabbis debate whether, is this the firstborn son or the first son? And anyway, without getting into it. So it's not here, but the original deal is that the firstborn son is to be the religious professional in the community. And when the priesthood is fully established, the priests take over. The firstborn son has to be pidyoned, has to be redeemed from the obligation in the Torah to be the religious officiant. So that's what happens. Nowadays you give a Kohen the coins and you buy the kid back from the Torah obligation. Okay?
So that is an instance where the priest gets paid, because you had said the priest never gets paid.
Well, it's not pay. Hey, come on, you want to talk to my tax attorney? Go ahead. Ray, go ahead, please.
Thank you. I don't have any insight to contribute. I'm afraid I have a further question to contribute, if that's all right.
Okay, as long as I can answer it, Ray.
Okay. You or some other actual Hebrew speaker may be qualified first to qualify my question, and then it's up for grabs who wants to try to answer it. I'm noticing in the text a sort of structural parallels in the sort of syntax and framing of this between verse 2 and again verse 5. Verse 2 finishes saying, she shall be unclean in this translation as of the time of her menstrual infirmity, emphasis mine on that word, because we don't find it in verse 5, where the more or less parallel sentence is, she shall be unclean 2 weeks as during her menstruation. And first I ask Hebrew readers whether that English difference also exists in the Hebrew text, since I don't know where to find those precise words. And second, if it does, what we think about that extra infirmity. And it's in an unexpected place for me. I would more expect this narrator to put infirmity associating with the female child and the longer impure period than the male. So I have a layer of questions here after the most fundamental question about the Hebrew.
Well, it's very interesting how you picked up in the English translation a problem that exists in the Hebrew. And the problem is there is a word in verse 2 which we don't exactly know how to translate. And that ends up some places as infirmity. In our text, it says separation, but neither one is stated with profound confidence. The word at the end of the phrase, Shivat Yamim Kimei Nidat Diota Titma. Diota is the word. And there is not a universally agreed upon translation for that word. You have words in text which are called hapax legamine, words that pop up once, and we don't have a context to learn how to translate them better. Context is good. If it appears twice, you see how it's used, and that helps. So the word infirmity, I think, is a really bad translation. I think it's really bad.
That's useful to know.
But that doesn't mean that I'm telling you what diota really means. But infirmity is a highly negative term, and I think it's not what it says. So here in the Plaut, at the time of the conclusion of her menstrual separation. Well, it's not exactly separation either. We don't know. And you picked up in the translation a problem that's in the Hebrew. I think that's fun. I think that's nice. Penina.
The word tam with a taf means whole, complete, perfect, nice. And with a tet, it means it's not. It's not perfect. It's the opposite of tam. So in other words,
what you're saying is that that's not the word that Ray is talking about, but tameh is impure.
Exactly, not impure. It's actually tameh with a tet is not perfect, and tam, it's complete. It's something that's acceptable and it's complete. So I understand. The way I understand it is when they are saying that somebody is tameh, is got something that he needs to heal from, or to complete, or to be whole, pure.
Okay, so you're doing something which is good midrash, but not Hebrew. Tam, tet, taf, mem is one of the four sons in the.
I know.
In the Passover Seder.
Yeah, but they also say that he doesn't know how to ask.
Wait. Tam is not etymologically related to tameh, to impure. It is not etymologically related. It is midrashically related. You can draw, I love doing sermons, but every once in a while, someone who knows the language will say, wait a second, that doesn't work. I know, but it makes a great sermon.
Yeah, why do they say kivsat mima or ikmo? It's somebody who doesn't have thoughts. It's
okay, but it is not etymologically connected.
Okay.
There's no connection between taf mem and tet mem aleph.
Okay.
But it's great midrash, and I certainly respect midrash. Okay. Does anyone else have anything? I mean, there's a lot here. That's why I asked that we read it. Ray, was that necessary?
It was not.
Okay. Tom Tom. I used to love the Manischewitz Tom Tom crackers. Yes. And that one probably is not from Taf Mem, nor from Tet Mem Aleph, but from Tet Ayin Mem, which means tasty. But I'm having too much fun here. Let's not do this. Okay, but Tom Tom crackers with a little bit of schmaltz on them, great snack. Now, what's the issue with blood? What's the issue with blood in Jewish life? Okay? Because it's all over the place. It's clear. why do we think, for example, that the woman who bears a child is obligated for a double length period of purification? What is that all about? And was it Natalie who said earlier that blood is being treated like something awful? It's disgusting. It's whatever it is. It's not. Well, I'm getting a very vigorous handshake from Tamara, but we'll go to Steve first and then Tamara. Okay.
I would say two things. First of all, the thing about blood, it's probably, especially at that time, the one thing that was universally understood as needed for life. And if you lost your blood, you were a goner. And, and they would treat blood with things thinking that that was the source of disease. And as for why it's twice as long, my guess is that it partly has to do with the daughter needs extra purification because she's also going to undergo this blood cycle for her entire life, something the son will not.
Yeah, the rabbis would refer to that basically as describing the fact that the baby girl is a future menstruant. So the mother has brought into the world through blood someone else who is going to bring blood into the world. Yes, Tamara, you looked very vigorous in your shaking of your head regarding blood. So bring us out of the blood.
Well, all I want to say is that it's not something awful in the Bible. It's the opposite. It's a sacred reality. It's the vehicle of life. And it says so already in Genesis, for the life of a person is in the blood. So there is this tremendous reverence and fear and awareness of the significance of blood as a nexus of life and death. And anything that has life and death together requires special care. Just as the way we feel about, say, nuclear energy, right? It can heal us and it can kill us if it's not used right. So the blood is that thing that carries that connection between life and death. And so it is used to purify things. So when Moses on Yom Kippur, in Leviticus 16, the way you purify things, you put blood on them because it purifies. So it both contaminates and purifies because of that connection between life and death that remains tremendously mysterious and requires special treatment.
Yeah, I have the phrase "b'damai chai." You live through your blood, b'damai chai, and this is also part of the Brit Milah ritual and prayer. Yes, thank you for that. So we can say holy, yes, frightening, yes, disgusting, no, I don't, scary. Okay, Kevin.
Okay, was circumcision a ritual, or did the ritual come, later down the line? Here it says that the women are not allowed in the sacred tent or not allowed to participate. Were they not allowed to watch their son have their circumcision?
If you go into, first of all, there's going to be a lot of ethnic differences in the answer to your question. And not just ethnic, but ethnic and denominational. Within the Orthodox community, it is highly usual for the women to be back. Within the Syrian community, we've experienced a little bit of shock. We didn't know what was happening. The mother was escorted from the room. Just at a certain point, the mother was taken away, and it happens there. So there are a variety of responses to it. But circumcision is well nigh a world spread ceremony. not just Jewish. I mean, there are many peoples that practice circumcision. And in any event, yes, within the traditional world, women are excluded from the actual event, from the actual cutting of the child. Okay, Fern.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm just thinking that blood also has a very profound and spiritual and almost inbred meaning for us, that we talk about our blood relatives. There's something instinctual about loving, about our caring for our own relatives because they're blood related. It's a big deal.
Yeah, and when somebody says he's like a blood brother, he's not a biological brother, but boy, it's almost like that, a blood brother. Yes, blood also is. Yes, it's a way of symbolizing relationship.
Well, I was saying it's more than just symbolism. There seems to be something innate in us to care for our blood, to at least be concerned.
Yes, yes. I'm going to read something to you. I usually television commentators, news readers will tell people this might be a little bit upsetting, but it's necessary to listen to. So that's my warning. It might be a little upsetting. After the murders, the massacre in the Pittsburgh synagogue, there were certain matters that had to be taken care of. And it relates to the Jewish notion that people who are killed, who die in blood-stained clothing, the blood-stained clothing has to be buried with them. You cannot throw it out. There's a discussion about how many days must the injured individual live beyond the event that which you have to bury the bloodstained garment. You know, after a certain period of time, you can throw it away and eventually the person dies, that's fine. But if the bloodletting stains the clothing and the person dies in a relatively 2 or 3 day short period of time, that clothing has to be buried with. Pittsburgh. I'm reading out of a news report. According to officials and others who've been inside, there is blood in multiple areas on multiple surfaces, bullet holes riddling multiple areas, including some of the holiest artifacts of Jewish life. Because of its important, it is important in Jewish law to keep the blood of each person distinct so that it can be matched and buried with the particular body that housed it. These men, an Orthodox group, had to identify each area in the synagogue with the specific person who was killed there in order to collect the material meticulously and in consultation with the family, reunite the blood remains with the body. The blood and human elements were then bagged, and along with all the materials used to collect them, the gloves, the brushes, the wipes. Throughout the course of this week, each bag will be buried in or alongside the coffin. Material that cannot be identified with a specific individual will be put into a communal grave, laid to rest with all the dignity that accompanies the burial of an individual with a name and an identity. I thought that was a very powerful, very clear statement. The reverence that Jews have with regard to blood and the very close identification of the blood and the person It is also true within Orthodox circles, certainly, if a limb is amputated, that limb is to be buried in such a way that it can be reunited with the body of the person whose limb it is when that person dies. Judaism has a very clear sense of awe, respect, love, sanctity for the human body. And the point I was making here is blood. Okay, and I'm going to go around just to get a few people. Eric Weiss, and then Ray and Carrie, and then Ray, and then Harv. Okay, but help me remember all that.
Hello?
Ray, Eric.
Guess what? The blood carries on the identity of the person because he has DNA samples in the blood. They can they can confirm a criminal was at a scene by just sampling the blood, the blood, and they can be he can be affirmed to be the criminal if the perpetrator if they found his blood on the crime scene.
And the DNA absolutely can be matched with the bodies. That makes the task easier. I have seen after bombings in Jerusalem during the Intifada, when the groups would come in to scrape, save, match, test, and reunite blood with the remains of the body. Uncomfortable to discuss, but a very important window on Jewish thought and feeling. Ray, Carey.
Yes, many times we've seen a deliberate separation between life and death. A few chapters ago, we saw a prohibition against cooking an animal in its mother's milk. A separation between milk, which was significant of life, and the animal, the dead animal. When an animal is killed, kosher killed, we drain the blood as soon as possible. Again, a differentiation between life and death. And I think the same parallel is being drawn here with the blood representing death and the newborn, which is representing life. It seems like a pattern that's going on.
Oh, it's more than a pattern, Ray. I mean, you're right. It is a principle. It is yes, it's more than a pattern. It's more than incidental. I grew up thinking that if you eat liver or eat shoe leather, you are eating the same thing. The proper way, the liver retains a lot of blood. The proper way to kosher serve liver is to cook it, heat it, fry it, whatever it is, that there's no blood in there. The result is the shoe leather I ate as a kid. They're really cautious about that. The draining of the blood, the killing of the kosher slaughtering of, I can do this without the hand, kosher slaughtering of a cow is the hoisting and draining of the blood. Yes, absolutely true. And do not ever go into a kosher restaurant and order steak tartare, okay? Because it's like saying, I'd like a cheeseburger. No, you're not going to get a cheeseburger. And no, you're not going to get raw meat either. Okay, Ray Kusarin.
Thank you. Let me just quickly say, I don't know who's telling you to stop talking with your hands, but I like your talking with your hands. I think it enlivens your speech and parallels it. It's a little bit like a ballet, and it reinforces your message. So I say, don't worry about using your hands. It's a beautiful thing. But that's not why I raised my hand.
I was hoping not.
I wanted to share after the very distressing Tree of Life example that you gave, a more positive and nurturing spin as well on the same principle. I am in the Chevra Kadisha at my synagogue.
Really? Really?
I'm sorry?
Which congregation? Where is this?
So I'm bi-coastal, and this is my Brooklyn congregation, the Park Slope Jewish Center, which is a conservative, liberal, egalitarian congregation. It's very interesting. We formed a Chevra Kadisha. I was one of the founders, and established, we didn't have a facility for it. We established a relationship with a nearby forward-thinking, open-minded Orthodox funeral home that had the facility and that liked that we wanted to do this. Despite our female rabbi, despite our egalitarian congregation, they were out-of-the-box thinkers, and it's been a beautiful partnership with them. We support them, they support us. We're very distinctly different kinds of practicing Jews, but they recognize that this is a positive thing. And our community, as far as I can tell, is very glad to have revived this practice within the context of liberal American Jewish practice. And I think it really is a very loving act and a very integrated act with the community. And I think that the community taking care of its own in the last act that we can perform for them after they die is one of the greatest gifts that a community can give. So I am absolutely a believer in Chevra Kadisha, and those of you who have one available to you, I urge you to consider becoming involved with it. You can get your head around it. It's the beauty of it overwhelms the obstacles. It certainly did for those of us on the committee, and it's a wonderful thing to do. And to anyone here in a community that is contemplating a Chevra Kadisha, you can absolutely do it, and you can absolutely do it in the context of liberal Judaism, and you can start from square one. There's resources available. There's a couple of books now on this. There's resources on the internet. Can be done, and I think it's a beautiful thing to do. I didn't mean to go into that spiel, but I'm glad you asked, Rabbi, because I'm a true believer.
I believe that you're a true believer. We would call that bearing testimony, which is what just happened. You were bearing testimony. I think it's beautiful. I think it's great. I am honored that you are participating in the Chevra Kadisha, and I echo your comment that in any synagogue, a group of people could organize with the clergy, with the funeral home, and a Chevra Kadisha could be established. And I think it's a beautiful thing. Thank you for that. Thank you. I'll
just say the little smaller point, because it was connected, but the smaller point is that an important part of our practice as we prepare the mate, the body of the deceased, and the purification for burial, and clean and purify and dress and put the talit on and transfer them, everything very gently, respectfully, speaking lovingly to them as we do every piece of the ritual, respectfully, never passing surgical instruments or anything like that over them, but always respectfully to each other. It's really a beautiful practice. But among the things that are part of it is anything, a cotton swab that we may use for cleaning and purification and so on, everything is preserved and goes into the coffin with the person because of the same principle that we've been discussing, that whatever may happen in Olam Haba, they may need that. And so that's just integrated as part of the ritual. And because this was a more loving and nurturing connection to that understanding than the horrific Tree of Life example, I just wanted to add that to our consciousness today as we're thinking about this connection and its significance.
I'm very grateful to you. I am very, very grateful to you. Thank you for that. I'm going to take a couple more points, and then I have a whole bunch of stuff. The Greeks are the concept of the four humors. Blood was one. Loss of leaves the body out of balance. Okay, I got that. Thank you. Thank you, Brad. Brad, did you have anything to add to your posting? Okay, but thank you for that. Thank you. Okay, Ray, Carrie? Oh, okay. I have only about 10 other things that we need to cover in the next 5 minutes, which we won't do, but that's okay. Promise me you'll come back next year. We have to mention that there was also a great deal of fear and superstition surrounding birth, and that involved the presence of demons who strike at moments of high vulnerability. This again is an almost, let's just call it a global phenomenon. In some Orthodox homes, the newborn baby is placed in a crib that has crimson red strings tied on the four corners. And you might say, oh, what a lovely decoration. No, it is basically to keep away the demons. And that's even, I mean, they may say ayin hara, the evil eye, but fundamentally it's to keep away demons. Birth is, someone said it, it's that line between life and death. It is a very, 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 very significant moment and has to be treated carefully. I should mention, I have a great phrase here. Giving birth straddles the line between life and death. I like that line, so I read that to you. Many deaths occur at birth. Remember, in the ancient world, many babies died. Many mothers died. So a birth circumstance is both the fear of death and the joy of life. It's both there. Now, I with your permission, I really want to do this just quickly. Customs during pregnancy. And I want you all, those of you who intend to get pregnant or impregnate or are related to family members who may do the same. This comes out as instruction from Chabad. If you want to know what to do during pregnancy, 1, eat only kosher, because what you do will affect the soul of the fetus. Number 2, during the first 3 months of pregnancy, don't tell anyone that you're pregnant, because the ayin hara, the evil eye, will be brought into action. During the 4th month, it's already no longer a secret. Do not buy gifts for the baby until it is born, except for items that need to be utilized at birth. Don't do it. I mean, I'm not telling you that. Okay. What do you say when you hear a woman is pregnant? Do you say Mazel Tov? No. You say B'sha'a Tova. Everything should come about in the proper time and in a good way. So if someone says, I'm pregnant, for example, if I would tell you I'm pregnant, your response, I don't know, your response would be B'sha'a Tova. B'sha'a Tova. Shah means hour, right? H-O-U-R, hour. B'sha'a Tova. It should come about at a good time. A pregnant woman should give charity every single day, because a pregnant woman must be aware on a daily basis of the fetus's moral and ethical development. Once you find out that you are pregnant, you should go and check all the mezuzot in your house to make certain that they're in good kosher shape, okay? And that again is avoidance of the evil eye. Interesting, the next part, tests which are known to pose a danger to the fetus, such as amniocentesis, should be avoided unless absolutely demanded by the doctor. So an automatic amnio test, not to be done. Fasting, a pregnant woman should avoid, other than two possibilities. What are the 2 days?
Yom Kippur.
Yom Kippur, Tisha B'Av. Tisha B'Av. Okay. What about inducing labor? Oh, this is so interesting. From the Torah viewpoint, God knows B'Sha'a Tovah when the baby should be delivered. Do not intervene unnecessarily by inducing an early labor. Now, I know this has never happened in your lives, but I know families who have induced labor so that they could set up the time for the bris on a convenient date, or because family is traveling. I have heard in my world, yes, I have heard that. Oh, let's get the baby here early because grandma is going on a Caribbean cruise and we want to have her there for the bris. Okay, so that does happen. Chabad, God knows better than you. Don't do this unless it is absolutely necessary. And I like this next point, and I emphasize it. If you have any questions, consult both your doctor and your rabbi. Okay, did we get that? Okay, it's a matter of status. Giving birth on Shabbat. One must, when necessary, desecrate the Shabbat in order to give a healthy birth. But minimize Shabbat desecration as much as possible. So, a woman may travel to the hospital on Shabbat when she goes into labor. That is permitted by traditional Jewish law. Okay? Number one. Number two, however, prearrange for a non-Jewish taxi driver. Let's hear. Next, in prearranging with the non-Jewish taxi driver, find out how much the charge is going to be, put the money in an envelope so that you don't have to handle it and just give it to the non-Jewish taxi driver, but don't go into your purse and pull out the dollars like that. Let's see. Oh, when exiting the taxi driven by a non-Jewish taxi driver paid with an envelope of money prepared in advance, the taxi driver, non-Jewish, should be the one who opens the door for you. Do not open the door for yourself. It's a Shabbat violation, unnecessary. But if you have to, be creative in how you open the door. I don't know, maybe with an elbow or something like that. When you arrive at the hospital, no matter what they say to you, avoid signing papers. But if you have to sign papers, sign with your left hand. Okay, I hope that you'll convey these lessons to the appropriate family members. And there's some blessings, there's some other good stuff too. Benching Goma. By the way, there are many, and I started researching this and I wanted to cry. There are many new baby rituals, and I don't mean gender reveal parties, but in Jewish law, there are new rituals arriving. So we have Brit Bat, we have a ceremony for the naming of the girl, and this one I had never heard of. Brit B'li Milah. That is now a ceremony in some parts of our God-forsaken Jewish community. Brit B'li Milah, a Jewish covenant ceremony for a boy that does not involve circumcision. And the other thing which I happen to really like is that it is a very Jewish thing to plant a tree to honor a newborn baby. And I like that a lot. to plant a tree, and the tree grows, the kid grows, and all that is good. There's a lot more. We're going to stop here. Thank you for. We've been running. Harry, did you have something that you wanted to offer? Natalie, excuse me, Natalie? No, okay. I just saw your hand waving. Okay, we're gonna do Kaddish.
I just wanted to, if I could ask, why was this important to us?
I'm sorry, who was asking? Fern?
Yeah, sorry.
Why is this important to us? It's an aspect of the Jewish world. It's understanding what some people do within the world. We have to do a lot more than just be certain of what we do. And I'll tell you, there's another reason for it. It's such a great question. We don't often connect childbirth, pregnancy with Jewish cultural, ethical, ritual concerns. Many of us who are modern, liberal, progressive Jews tend to treat these events, beautiful, powerful as they are, as not directly connected to our tradition. Chabad, Orthodox Judaism, goes to places I don't at all feel called upon to go. But I do feel called upon to recognize that they treat the entire process of giving birth as not just a biological or family happiness, it is also religiously significant. And thank you for pushing that point. It's not to marvel at what they do, but it's to remind us that every transitional moment in life is much more than biological or familial. It also has the spiritual, ethical, and moral. However we handle it. I mean, that's how the Brit Bat came into existence, the ceremony for the naming of a woman, a baby girl, because people were just totally uncomfortable with not involving a baby girl in a religious ceremony. And that's really it. But thank you. You pushed a good button, and I appreciate that. Okay, we're going to go to. No, I'm not going to ask that we do this for an hour and a half, but I do enjoy it. Anyway, I enjoy you. Those who have passed away during the past month: Ted Bird, Yuet Shun Hochan, Anna Chinsky, Hillary Toodletob Costin, Mike Culver, Alan Elliott Fierstein, Linda Hockman, Sid Kolpas, Coco Konar, J.C. Nadell, Eunice Nazarian, Gideon Rossner, Marcel Riesenberg, Jane Scheiber, Blossom Smith, Donald Van Perljager. Yortsites that have occurred during the past week: Max Ackerman, Leonard Scott Barkin, Dania Berezowski, Eugene Bernstein, Sally Bernstein, Aaron Birkin, Paul Chan, Betty Stein Coleman, William Avram Kopen, Eric Cotter, Marvin DeRoven, Devorah Dissner, Sue Dorf, Arkady Adinovich, David Eidingdorf, Raymond Feldman, Robin Feldman, Jack Feldman, Raymond Fine, Isaac Abraham Fogelman, Beth Fried, Ruth Frumovitz, Bill Gilbert, Gladys Ginsburg, Michael Gans, Nicholas Glucken, Fred Stanley Goldman, Burton Goldwater, Mary Gordon, Elizabeth Gottlieb, George Grant, Charles Greenberg, Isidore Greenberg, Martin Grover, Milton Gumpert, Eleanor Haas, Nuri Habibian, Sharon Ray Hayden, Judith Heim, Betty Heisler, Hyman Hoffman, Adolf Hoffman, Ruth Hoffman, Rita Howard, Judy Jaffe, Inez Johnson, Marissa Jones, Felix Judah, Edwin Sidman Khan, Joan Camino, Beverly K., Mary Lynn Keith, Helen Kelson, Diana Kind, Sally Cobrain, Paul Lamport, Belle Lazarowitz, Margot Lee, Dorothy Levin, Sandy Linka, Rose Linker, Gilbert Leiser, William Lowenberg, Hugo Melvoin, Dorothy Miller, Hal Minter, Milton Nadelman, Millie Newman, Baba Normand, Albert Nussbacher, George Pollack, Boris Porter, Jerry Price, Max Revnoff, Joseph David Rosen, Bernard Roth, Ethel Rothman, Dorothy Rothman, Grace Rubenstein, Marshall Sapphire, Claire Sathnick, Walter Sauter, Sarah Shermer, James Schlesinger, Shirley Schwartz, Abraham Shapiro, Rosina Schur, Leah Siegel, Wally Sloan, Inga Smedrisman, Walter Stern, Herschel Tenenbaum, Marie Traub, Eleanor Uslan, Rosil Wyckoff. If there are any other names to be remembered at this time, please speak them out loud or speak their names in your hearts. We call to mind as well all those who have died in defense of the United States of America, those who died in defense of the state of Israel, the innocents who are dying in the Ukraine, and all of those who have no one to say Kaddish for them. We join together now as we say Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah v'yalmad divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayechon v'yisrael v'agala v'zman karev v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mavarach v'yalam v'yamei almayah yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudisha La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechata Da'amiran v'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'kamav Uyaseh shalom Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol Yoshvei Tevel v'imru amen. May God, who makes peace in the high places, make peace in our hearts, make peace in our homes, make peace in the household of Israel, make peace among all the families and nations of earth, and let us say,
Amen.
Thank you all very much. Tamara, I just got the item you mailed to me. It is beautiful, perfect, and I'm going to use it. So thank you for that. Have a wonderful week, everybody. Stay safe.
Shabbat shalom. Thank you.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
So good being with you. So good. Take care.
You too.
Mona, it was nice seeing you. You're on mute. You're on mute.
There we go.
Hi, sorry about the delay. Yes,
Okay.
I'm often, I got dressed this morning. That
Good.
definitely helps.
Okay.
So we have friends who keep on having baby showers before babies are born. And I can't tell you how much this bothers me. And I didn't.
She means Jewish friends and
Yeah,
relatives.
right. I didn't grow up in an Orthodox home, but it's like deep in my cells. I just find it, I'm thinking, please wait. You know? But hopefully everything will be absolutely fine. I really feel like I'm tempting the evil eye. This is just not a good thing to be doing.
Okay, we'll let Hannah have the.
Right.
Take us.
All
All right,
right.
bye. Talk to you
I
later.
hope you guys are doing well.
Okay, bye.
Thanks, Hannah.